Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, guys, today's project is out in the yard. The weather's supposed to be a little bit nicer. It's still about 50 out here right now, but it should get up to about 60 today. After getting back from the MVP show in Louisville, Kentucky, I finished hooking up the washer and dryer temporarily, and all that is back running. But before we move to the next project, I've got to get something done out here, because if you guys remember, back in May of last year, we had those tornadoes come through and it dropped a few trees, destroyed one of my sheds. Well, insurance gave me enough money to buy a new shed, and actually I was able to upgrade and get a nicer shed than this one, but I need to have a place to put it. So back in, I think, November, Talon and I were over by the little metal building storage place thing that's in town, and we ordered what's actually more of a 2-car garage with a carport off the side. It's a 20 by 20 with a 12-foot lean-to. And we're going to put it right here in the same spot, but we got to get rid of this first. And these trees have got to come down. That one's like leaning against the shed. Well, actually the shed's leaning against the tree. These two are leaning over this building, which is going to be a little scary. And this one here, which should be the easiest one to drop. But first, I fired up the tractor so I can come in here and move all this equipment out of the way, and maybe move some of these other logs out. And I guess we're gonna break out the chainsaws, start cutting trees down, and just getting rid of all the stuff so I can ground prep. I need to level this somewhat so that when they get here with the building, they can put it down. Like I said, the building has been ordered, but it takes a few weeks for them to process to get it all ready, like 6 weeks. Well, we're at that 6-week point, and I haven't got the land prepped yet. So they're ready. They're waiting on me at this point. I need to get this basically ready for install. And, well, it's going to be some work. So I got that big heavy stuff out of the way. Got a few more things that I can just move by hand, and then I'll go ahead and start cutting trees. I don't know if you can see in the background of the time lapse, I got the fire going a little bit. Hopefully it'll keep going. That's still part of that big pile that we had back in May. And everything was just so green, I couldn't seem to keep it lit. But we had some really good rain about 2 days ago, so everything is soaking wet. I mean, my whole yard is just sloppy, muddy. So I'm hoping it's enough that, we're not going to start a forest fire, but I'm hoping it will burn through. Well, there are some pretty big rounds in there. I don't know if they're going to burn all the way through, but it looks like it's slowly spreading that way, at least getting all the brushy stuff out of the way. It's a start anyways. Once it gets burned down some, maybe the ground dries up, and get here with the tractor and just shove it all closer in, make a smaller pile. Well, as it turns out, I am completely unprepared for tree cutting. Seems to have no fuel here whatsoever, no 2-stroke oil, and no bar and chain lube. So I'm going to put a hold on that for the moment, but I realize there's still a bunch of hangers and stuff in this shed, so it's a little bit scary being in here not knowing the structural integrity of it, but it hasn't fallen down in a year. Hopefully it won't fall down in the next 10 minutes. I'm going to try to salvage this stuff so I can use it in the new workshop when it gets here, or I can take them over to the shop, the other shop, the main shop, whatever, and use them there. Well, that came down easy enough. I think I'm also going to steal like the door latch hardware. I might even take this door off that I built a couple years ago. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I mean, I know that parts of the shed can be salvaged. I just know that I'm not going to have time to do it, and it's going to go to rot by the time I do. I mean, part of me just wants to light it on fire and burn it right here in place. That way I just got to clean up the ashes. I'm not sure what I'm going to do just yet. Either that or just use a tractor and just see if I can just rip it apart. Could be fun that way. I even took my little motion sensor light off, mounted it over here to the storage building. Might come in handy here. All right, well, that worked out pretty good. I called Zach and Talon. They were out about in town. Said, hey, bring me home some bar and chain oil if you would. And it turns out they got a 1-gallon gas can here that's already pre-mixed. So we're in business. I'm gonna go ahead and take down at least these two small trees. The leaning ones, I may have to wait till they've got time to help me. They don't have time today. Well, I had the blade sharpened on the saw and it seems to be working much, much better now. Now I can drag all this stuff back to the burn pit, and hate to say it, but I got to do it by hand because it's so sloppy and muddy back there. Pretty sure the tractor will get stuck if I try. All right, tree number 2 is down. I gotta drag it back to the fire pit as well. Now this tree is obviously a lot smaller and a lot easier to haul back there, but you can see the top of it was pretty rotten. It just broke apart when it hit the ground. All right, so the bigger pieces I decided to cut up into a little bit smaller, more manageable pieces, throw them in the bucket. You know, truth is, I may not be able to get right to the pile and dump them in, at least get closer. It's better than carrying them back and forth. All right, so I switched the bucket out for the pallet forks. I figure while I've got the fire burning right now, I might as well get this debris that was out front from the front entry tear out. This is all stuff that I'm not going to reuse. Might as well take it back there and dump it on the fire while it's burning. All right, I guess since the guys aren't able to help me with these bigger trees, I'm gonna start focusing on cleaning up all this mess. These trees, some of them are down from those tornadoes last May, and the big ones that are way over there, those are actually the ones we paid that tree company to come take down because it was threatening the shed that inevitably got hit by another tree anyways. But all that's gotta go, so I'm gonna cut this big log in half. That way I can load it on the forks, take it in the back, put it in the log pile. And then I'm gonna come out here and just start de-limbing this other stuff and, I don't know, take it all back there and burn what I can, stack what I can elsewhere so that it's out of this area. Katie's off somewhere. My dirty, dirty truck. It's filthy. All right, so I used the tractor to pick the log up about the middle. That way I can cut this end off. And it'll minimize the chances of the log rolling on me, and it gets the weight off of that end so it doesn't pinch the blade. I'm going to get this one cut real quick and then reposition them so I can take them both back at the same time. Well, my plan didn't exactly work the way I wanted it to. I cut it, but then I wasn't able to get the logs on the forks and get traction. Like I said, it's so wet and muddy down there. Even once I dumped the logs, I couldn't get the tractor to back out. I had to like weasel it around. Went around the other way, tried the other side, just dug in and sunk in. So I used the chain and I pulled the logs up here to more solid ground. Now I'll come in from another angle, see if I can't pick them up with the forks and carry them around back. You can see how much I tore that up trying to get through there, especially with the weight of the logs on the front. The rear wasn't getting much traction, and I said my worn out tires don't help any. All right, so I de-limbed what I could reach and then cut those logs up into smaller, more manageable chunks. This is where I really wish I had the grapple over here. You guys remember I borrowed the skid steer back in May with the grapple on it, but I don't have it here today. I wish I did because I could just come in here, scoop the stuff up with the grapple and carry it back to the fire pile. It'd be so much easier, but I got to fight with it instead. All right, well, I let my ADD get to me a little bit. I was taking a load of the brush back to the burn pile and dumped it with the tractor. And on my way back out, I remembered all of this crap here from that ramp that used to come off of the porch before we built the deck a couple months ago. So I'll just still sitting here leaning against the fence. So my OCD, my ADD, whatever, I guess I tracked and I had to load it. Figure while it's burning, let's go dump all the burnable stuff. All of this stuff here has actually been leaning against this fence for years. Now it's all cleaned up. A few pieces are actually still frozen into the ground pretty good. You can see there's still some ice crystals on some of them there. Unfortunately, I have to raise it up enough to clear that hot tub over there. Which I don't like doing. This is heavy. It looks like I'm going to clear the hot tub. I also going to watch that building over there. Just going slow, taking my time. Clear, can put that weight back down. Looks like I missed a piece. Well, I got it good and stuck this time. Probably gonna have to use the excursion to pull it out. And I didn't even mean to be over here. I had tried to stay on the solid ground because I knew this area was soft. So I was actually up here. And when I tried to back out, it just slid sideways on me. And well, of course I tried to rock it in and out, but that's where she sits now. And that's all I had on it was one little log. You know, and the sad thing is, I think that if I had the bucket on the front still, I could probably use the bucket to kind of curl my way out of it, get the front end up out of that hole, and then curl out. But with the forks, I can't do it because those forks dangle. When you try to tilt them down, the forks just swing and dangle. So you can't get them to where they actually bite in and grab anything. That sucks. All right, so I got the X hooked up, got the chain pulled tight, and I even gave it a little tug, but it didn't want to go. So Katie's on her way out. She's going to drive the excursion. I'm going to get in the tractor, put it in gear, and hopefully the two together will get it to come out. You can see from back here, it's in pretty deep. It's not really sitting on the axle, but a couple pieces like there and there are actually digging into the dirt. All right, so it didn't work. Front right, left rear is spinning on the excursion, not being able to get any traction. So I called Talon. He's over at the shop working on something. He's going to come over, bring the other chain. We're going to take his Silverado and hook it to the front of the excursion so that he can pull the four-wheel drive as well. Hopefully that will work. But he was in the middle of a project, so it's going to take him a few minutes to get over here. So I went ahead and whipped out the chainsaw again. And the two trees that I dropped, I went ahead and cut the stumps off and just, as flush as I could without digging the chainsaw too far into the dirt. Probably gonna have to run a stump grinder once this is all done so that I can come through here, because I got a bunch of stumps over there too that we're gonna have to take care of. So fun. Unfortunately, This didn't work either. So I'm in the tractor, Zach is in my Excursion, and Talon is in his Silverado. Katie is operating the camera, and we still couldn't get it out. Well, as you can see, we finally got it out, but it took two trucks. Plus I had to raise the front wheels of the tractor off the ground with the loader frame and shove some, I don't know, it was like a couple chunks of firewood and a couple 4x4 posts and a piece of plywood, just because that front wheel was sunk in so bad that it was like trying to drive up onto a curb, but like 4 times larger. I think that was where most of our resistance was coming from. Once we did that, the boys gassed both trucks and talented, rooster tails pulling us out, but we got it out. Of course, he did rooster tails for 30 feet. And once I got out of the hole, I was unstuck, but Talon was just going. So we all went with it. Definitely a mess. Anyway, it is after 6 p.m. now. The sun is going down. I'm losing light. And after all that, I've had it. I'm done for the day. I'm going to go tend to the fire for a few more moments and then call it quits. Well, we burnt quite a big chunk of it. Unfortunately, it didn't carry all the way through like I hoped it would. It kind of went so far and like stopped. That's right. We'll light the other side tomorrow, maybe. Well, we didn't get as much done today as I hoped we would gotten done, but we got to start on it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time I see you, keep those engines running. And also, the weather looks fantastic this weekend. So keep an eye out on the other channel. I'm hoping we're going to go for a motorcycle ride on Sunday. Get Dr. Evil out, get some miles on him.
So here is the fun situation at the Halstead Homestead. It's a horsepower wagon train. Arr, 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 arr.